Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to the holiday special. We've got our tree right here. We've got me wearing red and green, and I'm sorry if you're not a Georgia fan, but this is all the red I've got. Today, we are going to talk about my top 5 series I would like to start in 2025. Let's go ahead and jump right into it with number 5, which is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan in the Wheel of Time series. I have to grab it off the bottom of the stack here, but we have it. All right. I'm super excited to start this series. However, I have some hesitations. I've heard that Robert Jordan's description can be kind of crazy. And when I heard that, that's just tough for me. I'm not the biggest fan of just over-the-top description that just drags on forever. And I've also heard that the slog in this series can be pretty crazy, like literally books worth of slog. And for me, for Eric Bowden books, that's a no-go. That is a no-go on this channel. I do not like slog, which is why this is number 5 on the series I want to start. So yeah, if you guys think that this should move up on the list, you should think it should move even farther down and something should replace it, let me know. But for right now, this is high priority, but I'm still very hesitant on it. I've heard a lot of amazing things. I can't wait to see what this journey is. I can't wait to see the magic system. I can't wait to see this world. The fact that Brandon Sanderson finished it for Robert Jordan after he passed, rest in peace, is honestly very impressive and something that I want to check out and worth investing my time into. So I'm definitely excited to read this, but I am not super hyped for the slog, if that makes sense. So that's why Robert Jordan and The Wheel of Time and The Eye of the World is number 5 on my list. So next we have the Blade itself in the First Law Trilogy. Did that a little bit better this time. All right, so Blade itself, I heard this is a very dark and gritty world. This is a grim, dark novel, epic fantasy, has some crazy twists, has some crazy betrayals, great character work. Abercrombie is known for amazing dialogue. So as far as I'm concerned, I would love to check this out. My only hesitation is that I tried reading this about 2 years ago and it just did not work for me. I felt like it meandered and dragged on for way too long. I didn't feel like there was any plot. I didn't know where it was going. I liked the characters. Obviously, the dialogue was great, but it just wasn't working for me. I will say, though, that this was at the beginning of my reading journey when I jumped into this. And so I think now coming into it with having many more books under my belt, I think that I will definitely enjoy this more. I know it's going to be a bit of a grind to get through, but I think I'm more of a patient reader now. And I think that I might enjoy it a little bit more. I think that I'm just going to relax a little bit and enjoy it and take my time with it and realize that this is kind of one big book split into 3 parts. And so I need to keep that in mind. We're just going to take it piece by piece. That's how it's going to go. So I'm going to really enjoy this, I hope, and I've heard amazing things about it. You guys obviously really like it. I've had a lot of people tell me I should read it, so that's why this is number 4 on the list. For number 3, we have George R.R. Martin's magnum opus, A Song of Ice and Fire, starting with the first book in this series, A Game of Thrones. This series is obviously a massive cultural phenomenon, and I cannot wait to see what the hype is about. Obviously, it's unfinished, but I don't really care. I've never even watched the show. I probably won't even watch the end of the show because I've heard it's pretty terrible, but I would still like to see what is up with these books, why everyone loves them so much, and if I really need the ending at all. I've already talked about this in previous videos about Name of the Wind, but I pretty much said, even though it's unfinished, I still want to read it and I still want to get into it. I've heard that George R. R. Martin does political intrigue better than anyone else. His character work is absolutely phenomenal, and his worlds are incredibly fleshed out and deep. I cannot wait to get into this. I have a friend who's recommended me to read this many, many times, and so I really need to just go ahead and check it out. We may never get to see the last 2 books in this series, but George R. R. Martin is a legend, and I still think he is definitely worth checking out and reading, and so I'm going to dive right in, and hopefully I'm going to enjoy it. For number 2, we have the Prince of Nothing series, starting with The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Bakker. This book is the quintessential grim, dark story. I've heard that it's extremely messed up, extremely dark. very dark, and honestly, I just cannot wait to get into it. The philosophy in it is amazing. The world is incredible. From everything that I've heard about it, it sounds epic and exactly what I would want to read, but I have heard that it is pretty fucked up. So if you are trying to get into this, just know that it can get to some very, very dark places. And it's also kind of hard to understand and comprehend because, again, it's one of those authors that doesn't tell you anything, but you know what? Might as well just jump into it, see if I like it or not. I think the philosophy is going to be exactly what I'm looking for, but just know that it is not easy, and that's why it is going to be very, very far in the future when I end up getting to this book. But you know what? We're going to jump into it. Hopefully we get to it in 2025. I think we will at the current pace that I'm reading. Even if we don't read the entire series, we will at least read the darkness that comes before. So that is why it is one of my highest priority books, because it sounds like everything that I would want to read, and it sounds insane. I love writers who just go to some crazy places and show people that something that's never been done before, never existed, worlds that you cannot even imagine how they came up with. This book is definitely high priority for me to read. So that is why I'm going to put this at number 2. Can't wait to start this. And of course, you guys will be the first ones to hear everything I think about it right after I finish it. And last but not least, at number 1, we have Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. This, I have heard, is the top tier fantasy story of all time. People consider it one of the greatest series ever written. Some people even consider it the best literature out there. Now, I do not know if it is going to live up to all of that hype. But what I do know is that this author was an anthropologist, and so this world is incredibly, incredibly detailed and fleshed out. Magic system's insane. There's hundreds of characters. Different books take place on different continents. You have tons of different races. You have tons of different history, insane lore, so much to dive into, and I cannot wait to get into it. I do feel like the POV changes could be a bit jarring, and the fact that Erikson doesn't really explain anything might be tough for me to get through, but I'm still going to give it my best shot, and I hope I do enjoy it, because from what I've heard, this series is the best in epic fantasy. If you're especially looking for dark fantasy, but you still want that mix of hope in there, you don't want it just completely nihilistic, this book is going to be for you, and this series as a whole is going to be exactly what you're looking for. I hope that I enjoy it, like I said, but who knows? I really think this could be a massive dud for me, but it is still my most highly anticipated series to start based on everything that I've heard about it. I will say that I need to read a lot more epic fantasy before I jump into this, so expect to see my read through happening towards the end of 2025. I've got high hopes for all these books, and I really hope I enjoy them. That pretty much does it for today's video. If you have read any of these books, please let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. Let's keep this ride going in 2025. As always, happy reading, writing, and I'll see you guys next time.